rise and shine. It is On the Whistle time. Hello and welcome to the On the Whistle podcast. My name is Alistair Howarth. I am not the host of your podcast today. Obviously, today we've got part two of our brilliant two-part interview with Coach Cavin Johnson. Cavin Johnson, obviously, who just left Kaizer Chiefs just a couple weeks ago. I'll cover my Orlando Pirates shirt right now, so as not to make my allegiances too obvious. But if you enjoyed part one, if you've enjoyed some of our content, I know a lot of people who have recently listened to it have kind of been introduced to some of our previous work. We have so many wonderful interviews, ranging from people like Cavin Johnson, Brandon Truder, Benny McCarthy, coaches in South Africa, Coach Pitso Mosimane, quite a few interviews we've done with him, all the way ranging to interviews around different AFCON teams, the women's AFCON and World Cup, as well as some real big hitters with the likes of Kanu, Peter Odemwingie, Xabi Alonso, who's also been on the podcast. But if you enjoy the content, look us up on YouTube, look us up on Spotify, On the Whistle podcast. You can also find us on every social media platform: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. We're still working on it, but OTW_podcast is us on Twitter and Instagram, and On the Whistle podcast on Facebook. But otherwise, I hope you enjoy part two of Courtney and Zayn's talk with Coach Cavin Johnson.
And can I come in with something, Coach? Just because you obviously played Sundowns in the league. Rhulani Mokwena was in charge of Sundowns at the time. They beat you in the league. I know it was a good win for them. But after the game, in the press conference, I don't know if you're aware, but he spoke really respectfully and fondly of you. And this is what Rhulani said at the time. He said he didn't believe you get the credit you deserve. And to quote him exactly, I admire him a lot. I think he's done incredible work. And maybe it doesn't get praised enough. But it's like that in South Africa, isn't it? We don't respect our own. I don't think he gets the respect he deserves. I mean, the guy has produced so many top professional footballers. He's coached Platinum Stars and Supersport. He's won trophies. He's really done incredible work for this country. And he's an incredible human being. I think the Kaizer Chiefs staff can attest to that. He's a very, very good person. Coach Cavin, when you listen to that, what does that make you feel?
Probably for the sake of Rhulani. I think it's because you do know I gave Rhulani, I don't know if it his first job at Platinum Stars as a coach when he just came out coaching, and I took him on his first international tournament, and maybe those conversations there, because we played against Thiago when we were 19 in a tournament in Germany, and he was the head coach there. And they didn't do well. But I think Rhulani is a good listener. He's a good observer. And he took notes of, I was just the head of the delegation and teaching them and things like that. And he took notes of it, and he respected those. And along the way, we've always been friends, and we always speak fondly about how we can build South Africa and not Sundowns, Chiefs, Pirates. You know what I'm saying? I think when your country is doing well, your players globally go overseas and they make a name for yourself. And unfortunately, that has dried up. I think our highest player now is Lyle. Is it Lyle Foster?
Lyle Foster, Burnley.
And he's playing for Burnley, and Burnley is like
the championship now.
Yeah, but they like in the middle table championship team. You know what I'm saying? You now have the player from Gezani. He's going to play Champions League football, but we don't have enough of them. When you look at the Benny area, Stephen, Fish, Sean Bartlett, they were all more or less in the same era, and there were a lot of them there.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we didn't fill that gap up when they were leaving. The Mark Fish, when they were playing Italy, there wasn't enough players going there and keeping the momentum up as far as South Africans are concerned. And that is when people forgot about South Africa. And then all of a sudden, you got Pitso going going into Africa and conquering with Ali and things like that. Then people started thinking, oh, now our coaches are also good enough. You get what I'm saying? But there's not enough of us going out. You have your Fadlu now, you have your
Fadlu at Simba, Fadlu Davids. Yeah.
Simba, he's gone to Simba now.
But from one big team to the next as well.
Yeah, exactly. From Wydad to Simba. So you need out. That's the coaches going out, but there's still no players going out. Our players are not hitting the top line in world football, and you need to have them scattered, even if it's all over. I mean, when you look at the Euros now, and you look at the small Slovakia, Austria, the Scandinavian countries, they are all playing fantastic football. Really, I mean, even Turkey itself, they're on the top with the best.
Yeah,
they're competing with the best. You know what I'm saying? And what is that telling us? That is telling us that a lot of those players are playing at the top leagues in Europe. If you look at them and you analyze their teams, a lot of their top players are playing at the top leagues in Europe. And that's why when they get together as a country, they look strong.
Sure.
And that's what I'm saying.
And Coach, I'm going to come back to make one point and then just follow up with the question. Rhulani wouldn't have said that if he didn't mean it. And I know there's a relationship and you've explained that, but he, in many people's eyes, is the sort of prized coach in the African continent at the moment, right? Yes. He's part at Sundowns. So for him to say that about you, he didn't need to. And the fact that he did says to me that there's a very real respect in everything he's saying. And I guess the question to you is, do you feel that you've got the credit you deserve for the work you've done in the South African football fraternity?
At the moment, I don't normally blow my own trumpet, but I don't think I should do that. I don't think I should tell you whether I need the credit, yes or no. I think people should give me the credit. I always say that. I don't want to. You know what I'm saying. You can get emotional, Zayn, and go on a long tantrum and remind people about this, about that, and whatever.
There are people out there who have labeled Rhulani Mokwena the Pep Guardiola of African football. You're obviously away from it. You've been going through what you've been going through. But what did you make of his departure from Sundowns? Were you surprised to see him go?
In one moment, yes. Very, very, very surprised. I thought he had the team playing a good brand of football. And I think that only has to be credit to him. They were playing a really, really good brand of football. The day they beat us, I think it was 4-1 or something like that. Yes, I got a red card early on in the game, but I think if I stayed 11 versus 11, it would have been a different story. But we can always talk after the football. But yes, Zayn, it was a big surprise for me. And there's been a lot of talk why he left, how he left, and he's just signed a 4-year deal, and the technical director is part of it and things like that. I don't think you'll ever hear the truth, the right story. But from a coach to a coach, I think it was really surprising for me, because I did think that he had a home at Sundowns for a few more years to come. And he had a home where he could build his own team, even though he did bring in a lot of players. But he had a home where I say, signs a 4-year deal. You've got a home to say, you know what? By the end of this period, I would have built a good team that can compete in Africa. And I think he missed out in the last Champions League game, but he did win. I don't know which one they rate higher, the African Football League or the Champions League. They probably rate the Champions League higher than the African Football League, because that is something that's they're trying to get going in Africa. So, but he did win the African Football League, and that for me was a major, major, major trophy he won, because it was the first, and he did play against a lot of good players, a lot of good teams in that AFL. But the Champions League was the one that eluded him, and maybe that is the one that the club is looking for. But I don't think it. For me, it was very, very unexpected. As an individual, unaccepted. Whether it was emotional or whether it was tactical, but I do think he could have stayed at Sundowns for longer and do better, because I do believe he is a good coach.
Would you mind if I play devil's advocate really quickly here? Because I know you know Rhulani and you've coached against him. But Sundowns are obsessed with winning the CAF Champions League. They are looking forward to playing in the Club World Cup. You know, this is the level they want to be measured at. And during Sundowns' most critical part of the season, their league form wasn't what it should have been. Yes, they might have been winning, but they hit a slump. And then they couldn't do the business home and away in the semis. Is that not perhaps, if you're sitting there as a sporting director, an owner, a CEO, would that not give you cause for concern, given the talent that's in that squad, given the investment, that they cannot hit their peak during their most critical part of the season?
Zayn, I don't think it's fair to judge him on that, even though it's important. I haven't been at a team like Ali and seen what needs to be done over 109 years. I think it's too soon. I think he's done more than good in order to have another bite at the cherry, and given more time to do what he's done, because you must remember, Pitso was there and he was very successful. He won the league a long time, and he won the Champions League, but then he left, and Rhulani, Mangoba, and Steve took over, and they did well. And then Rhulani took over by himself as the head coach, and I thought that was the time where he was going to do the job. He did do the job.
Mm-hmm.
For me, he did do the job, but you've got to give him an extra motivation, or you got to help him get along the line and say, you know what, guys, now we in our 7th year, we've taken the PSL 7 times in a row, 8 times in a row. We've won the
AFL.
5 times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we won the AFL, which is bigger than the Nedbank for me. I think he made them something like 71 million rand over the period that he was there. So make sure that you boost him better and give him a better direction. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure he's not an old horse like I am. He's a young horse. So you could actually help him along, get even better than what he is now. And yes, you croaked at 2 Champions League finals. I think the first one was also the quarterfinals, and the second one was also the quarterfinals. But then there's a lot of things that we don't look at and see how the North Africans manipulate their league in order for their teams to play Champions League.
Oh, I love it when you talk like that, coach. I love it when you talk like that. Yes.
Like how?
Where basically the league sets up the team to be highly effective for the Champions League.
Exactly.
Not playing 2 or 3 days after a fixture. And we've spoken about this on the chat before, Zayn. You know, giving the team the best possible opportunity, including travel, including rest time, so that they go out there and represent the continent, number one, but also the country well.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And having been there, yes, with Pitso, knowing that we had a good team, knowing that he was a good coach as well, but knowing that the team could get on a flight, whether it's SAF Air, whether it's SAA or whether it's Fly Emirates or whatever, but they would have a flight completely booked for them to travel wherever, and that flight will wait. Once we've done, get on that flight and we'll fly back. All those things are made for them to succeed. And that is what we don't do for the team that's like ready to win the Champions League.
Coach, not
You know,
to
we still
answer.
still have to go to OR Tambo and book in and go through. No, those teams are then made special arrangements for everything. They must get on that. They must not be a waiting period. If their flight leaves at 10 o'clock, they are there at 9 o'clock. They're going through. There's no stopping them. There's no searching them. Everything is done for them.
Wow.
On time.
Wow.
I think they do that for the Champions League in England. The Champions League in Europe, the team with the best, or the team that gets to the closest to the top, they are then treated like gold. Because it doesn't matter how you do it, because when you look at Sundowns players now, all the South African players that are in the Sundowns team are in the Bafana team.
Well, Coach, this is what I wanted to add as well.
Only strengthens your national team.
Yeah, this is what I wanted to add. They came out of the AFCON, obviously did exceptionally well, and then 10 players of their team who are playing for Sundowns go straight into the Champions League, you know? So it also has been an exceptionally intensive period of football for them.
Yes.
To just go from one platform to the next, including the league fixtures as well.
Exactly. So all those things have to be put down, and you've got to work it out so that Sundowns, and yes, it's Sundowns now. Maybe next year it will be Pirates. Maybe the following year it will be Supersport. But you've got to put it down and say these teams have to be given special treatment in order to accomplish everything.
I know we're close to the end of the pod, but I just wanted to ask you, I know we've spoken about Rhulani and we've spoken about your future, but another coach who is future is still to be decided is your old colleague, Pitso Mosimane. He's obviously been to North Africa. He's been to Saudi Arabia. He's even been to the United Arab Emirates. Where do you think he would land next? Do you think it's somewhere back in South Africa in the PSL? Or do you think it's back to North Africa / the Middle East or somewhere else?
My personal opinion, I think Pitso is still very much in the mode of conquering Africa, and he will end up in North Africa or Middle East or somewhere. That's where he thrives at the moment.
Mm-hmm. And do you see more success on the continent for him?
On the African continent, I don't know if he's about that yet, but I think he's getting closer to being a national team coach for somebody. But other than, I think he still wants to be in Africa, either North Africa or Emirates or something like that. I think he still wants to play in that space.
I just found it so interesting to listen, Coach. Your thoughts on some difficult moments, your insight into how people and highly successful people can also find things difficult, i.e. Rhulani. And the thing that gets to me, Coach, is you speak so glowingly about youth football. You speak so glowingly about keep the conveyor belt going. And yet nobody speaks about this that much. People talk about the now, not what needs to continue coming. And I just hope from what we're doing today that there's someone listening and thinking, I need to get this gentleman back into my club to reignite the academies to continue moving forward.
I hope so, Courtney, because we have an abundance of talent. And I think when we had our first conversation, I told you that they always compared us with the Brazilians. But we're nowhere near the Brazilians now. We don't have a Vinicius anyway. or we don't have someone that looks like a Vinicius anyway. We have a Chandra Campbell, we have a Mofokeng, but they're not close to him. You know, we look at Jamal, the youngster from Barcelona. He's not supposed to be playing football at 16 in Germany. They should lock him up, they say. But
He's supposed to be in school.
yeah, we don't have that 16-year-old. I had a kid at Kaizer Chiefs recently, Mfundo Vilagazi, but he's 18. He's 18. He's 2 years older. You know what I'm saying? He's 2 years too old in the PSL. I think he's got great feet, but whether he can make it to show what he's really got in his feet, I doubt, because of the pressure that he is at Kaizer Chiefs. Now that goes back to, you know, Stephen being an 18-year-old and playing in the PSL and scoring against Orlando Pirates. Goes back to Stephen being an 18-year-old going to Amsterdam and sign a professional contract. You know what I'm saying? And that's what they do in Amsterdam. The 16 and 17-year-olds playing in the Eerste Divisie. So when are we going to have more of those come through so that we can really show what we are worth?
Thank you so much for listening to the On the Whistle podcast. We love hearing from you. We love hearing the good and the bad. We've heard quite a lot of the bad from Kaizer Chiefs fans about Cavin Johnson from part one. Some of them, I'm not entirely sure if they actually watched the interview or if they just came on to vent about Coach Cavin Johnson and the kind of unsuccessful spell he had with the club. But if you want to get in touch with us, if you want to give us suggestions about things we've done some kind of more interesting podcasts, like My Team of the Tournament, which me and Zayn recorded in Edinburgh, of all places. But if there's any other content like that, or football stars or up-and-coming stars that you think we should be interviewing from the men's or the women's games, or certain kind of topics we want to talk about, you know, we've delved into a lot of ideas around racism and, you know, particularly prevalent given what happened with the Argentinian national team and Enzo Fernandez. But if you want to get in touch with these kind of things, or just tell us how good or bad we are, please do. And you can get us on social media: Twitter, Instagram, OTW_podcast, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify. On the Whistle podcast is our name. But I hope you enjoyed the podcast today. I hope you enjoyed the interview. I certainly did. And I hope you have a wonderful week. Blessings.